Hello and welcome to another BookTube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books, and welcome to November, my birthday month. Next month's Christmas. Since September, honestly, where has this year gone? It's gone so fast, hasn't it? I'm very off-centre. So yeah, here we are today on the 1st of November. Welcome to November. Looks quite nice. Today I'm going to be talking about the books that I plan to read in November. I've separated these books into sort of reading projects, which includes book clubs, a couple of library books, a couple of things that are my faves, and because it's my birthday month I deserve to read my faves, some books that have been languishing on my shelves that I'm quite keen to read, and then two recent purchases that I'm keen to read as well. So let's start with the Bookish Project. So the first one, well, the first two are book club books. So I'm going to be reading The Herd by Emily Edwards. This is the book club that I run on Facebook with my pals. This is about two best friends, Elizabeth and Bryony. They're polar opposites, but their unexpected friendship has always worked. They're the best of friends and godmothers to each other's daughters because they both trust that the safety of their children is their top priority. One little secret. Little do they know that they differ over one very important issue, and when Bryony, afraid of being judged, tells what is supposed to be a harmless white lie before a child's birthday party, the consequences are more catastrophic than either of them could ever have imagined. Every parent's worst nightmare. Now this doesn't sound as though it's something that I would ordinarily read, but that's why I quite enjoy a book club, you know, because you do sort of read things that you wouldn't ordinarily read. So there we go, I will be reading that this month. And then the other book club book is Affinity by Sarah Waters. This is what we're reading for my Patreon book club. There'll be a video coming up shortly about the Christmas Patreon book club, but if you'd like to join now and get ahead of the times, you can join in for Affinity by Sarah Waters. Because it's my birthday, as I said, I like to do my favourite things in my birthday month. We thought we'd read one of my favourite authors. Now Affinity is the only Sarah Waters book I haven't read, and the other book that was up for the vote was The Paying Guests. This it only just won. I think it was like 60 something percent, low 60%, I think. But it's elated me because I'm very, very excited to read Affinity and see what it's all about. Now, I don't know anything what it's about, but let's have a look. From the dark heart of a Victorian prison, already really invested, disgraced spiritualist Selina Dawes weaves an enigmatic spell. Is she a fraud or a prodigy? By the time it all begins to matter, you'll find yourself desperately wanting to believe in magic. Sarah Waters. No bad books. They're all amazing. So very excited to read this. Excited but trepidatious because then I've read all the Sarah Waters. Although I was thinking, like I mentioned, The Paying Guests was on the list as well. So I'd like to read The Paying Guests again. And I mean, Fingersmith, one of my favourite books. I'd like to reread all of them. That's what I'm saying. So once I finish this, unless we get a Sarah Waters next year, I mean, surely we're due one. I'm going to start rereading all the Sarah Waters. Maybe that could be my 2023 reading project, maybe. Speaking of reading projects, the reading project I've been doing this year is reading my way through the 6 Tudor Queens books. I'm at the last one. I can't believe it. So you may well have seen my reading vlogs about these books. So I've been reading my way through the 6 Tudor Queens books, all about the wives of Henry VIII. There's 6, as the title explains, and we're on the 6th wife now, which is Katherine Parr. Simply entitled The 6th Wife. She lived after Henry. Henry died whilst wed, so I'm looking forward to finding out what life without Henry is like. Yeah, like I said, I've been really enjoying reading these books and doing the reading vlogs, sort of dressing as the Queens from Six the Musical and finding out more about the Queens. Katherine Parr in Six Musical, her and Catherine of Aragon, they're my favourite Queens out of the musical, so looking forward to reading this as well. Looking forward, but like again, same with the Sarah Waters thing. Sad that it's going to be over because I've had such a lovely time reading these books. Now I do have one more book that's sort of linked into the series, but not really. It's short stories about each of the Queens, and I think I'm going to read that in January as a sort of like last hurrah to see off the reading vlog. But yeah, we'll be reading this at the beginning of November. Then, well, let's talk about the things that I love, because already, I mean, I'm having a good month already because two things that I love. Sarah Waters, love reading her books, have really enjoyed doing that. So more things that I like, one of which involves a reread, and that's Names for the Sea by Strangers in Iceland by Sarah Moss. This is a non-fiction book. Sarah Moss's writing I really love as well. All the Sarahs. Sarah Moss, Sarah, that's what Mercedes says, doesn't she? All the Sarahs. And yeah, this is a non-fiction book about when Sarah and her husband and their 2 kids moved to Iceland for a job for a year, and I fucking love this book. It's really sort of engrossing in a way that I rarely find non-fiction, so I was delighted about this, and it just covers all sort of like aspects of relocating your life, and I really, really love sort of like looking into Icelandic culture and finding out about the things that they eat and how the school system works and what it's like relocating there and the weather and like trolls and things like that. I really, really love it. I was saying to Mercedes when we met up recently, David and I are going on our honeymoon next year to Norway, and I would love a non-fiction book that is almost exactly the same as this but set in Norway. So if anyone has any good Norwegian non-fiction book recommendations, or even Norwegian fiction books, just Norwegian books that are good that are set in Norway, then do let me know, because I would love to read them either while I'm on my honeymoon or on the lead up to. But yeah, I've always loved reading this. This is one like I've reread probably like 3 or 4 times, and yeah, I loved it. I'm really looking forward to reading it again. Really, really looking forward to it. Then I've got 2 things that are fave things of mine. The first one is this book, which is The Archers, Ambridge at War, by Katherine Miller. So you may well know that I love the radio soap, The Archers, which has been going on for I think like 75 years now. I got into it about 5 years ago and I just love it, listen to it all the time, very much invested in their lives. Now this is set early doors, so this is set between, it is midnight as 1939 turns to 1940, and Walter Gabriel speaks the same line that opened the very first radio episode, and a happy new year to you all. For Ambridge, that's where The Archers is set, a village in the heart of the English countryside, this year will bring change in ways no one was expecting. So I'm so excited to, like, so from the Pargeters at Lower Loxley, I've literally just listened to an episode where Freddie and Lily Pargeter and her mum have gone to a pub quiz, to the loving, hard-working Archer family at Brookfield Farm. The war will be hard for them all, and the new year brings the arrival of evacuees to Ambridge, shaking things up in the close-knit rural community. As the villagers embrace wartime spirit, the families that listeners have known and loved for generations face an uphill battle to keep the secrets hidden, especially as someone who is intent on revealing those secrets to the whole village. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to reading that, just because I love The Archers. And then lastly, I thought I might treat myself to a bit of Daphne du Maurier as well. You may well have seen that my cousin Laura and I attempted and failed to read My Cousin Rachel as a like little reading vlog while we were away at a weekend in Bath. We read about 13 pages. But this is a Daphne du Maurier book that has languished on my shelves for a while, The House on the Strand. And it's a bit sci-fi, I believe. It is about Dick Young's friend, Professor Magnus Lane. He offers him a escape from his troubles in the form of a new drug, and Dick finds himself transported to 14th century Cornwall. There in the manor of Twidereth, the domain of Sir Henry Champenoun, he witnesses intrigue, adultery and murder. The more time Dick spends consumed in the past, the more he withdraws from the modern world. With each dose of the drug, his body and mind become addicted to the other world, and his attempts to change history bring terror to the present and put his own life in jeopardy. So yeah, I've been meaning to, I've got a few Daphne du Mauriers on my shelf that I've been meaning to read, and I thought this would be, I've been meaning to read it for a while. While we're speaking about books that have been languishing on my shelves, I've got 3 here that have been languishing on my shelves that I've wanted to read, so I'm going to stick them on the old TBR for next month. The first one is Rufus Ecke, My Year of Meats. And I've been meaning to read this for a while. I read The Book of Form and Emptiness earlier this year, which ended up winning, I think, the Women's Prize for Fiction. I think it did. And I enjoyed that, and I want to read more of Rufus Ecke. In a single eye-opening year, I also think this has got something to do with vegetarianism. In a single eye-opening year, 2 women worlds apart experience parallel awakenings. In New York, Jane Takadi Little lands a job producing a Japanese television show sponsored by an American meat exporting business, exposing some unsavoury truths about the meat industry and herself. In Tokyo, housewife Akiko Ueno diligently prepares the recipes from Jane's programme. Struggling to please her husband, she increasingly doubts her commitment to the life she's fallen into. As Jane and Akiko both battle to assert their individuality on opposite sides of the globe, they are drawn together in a startling story of strength, courage and love. Also, I've read another A Tale for the Time Being. I don't actually think maybe I got through with A Tale for the Time Being, which I want to reread, when I just started BookTube. And that was told from 2 different women in different parts of the world, having sort of like reflective lives. So maybe that is a theme, but look forward to that. Then I've got American Fever by Der Aziz Amna. This is a proof copy. It came out in August this year. And the reason I was excited about this This is why I'll read the blurb. On a year-long exchange program in rural Oregon, 16-year-old Hira must swap Kashmiri chai for volleyball practice and figure out why everyone around her seems to dislike Obama. A fierce and unforgettable narrator, Hira finds herself stuck between worlds. The experiences are memorable for reasons both good and bad: a first kiss, new friends, racism, Islamophobia, homesickness. Her body seems to be reacting to the change of the environment too, as Hira starts to feel increasingly unwell, until she begins coughing up blood and receives a diagnosis of tuberculosis, pushing her into quarantine and turning her new world upside down. So yeah, sounds great, doesn't it? And then the last one of the languishers is this short story collection, Kitchen Curse by Eka Kurinawan. This is sent to me by Verso, and the other collection that they sent me I really, really loved, and actually is on my favourites, Terminal Boredom by Izumi Suzuki. This is, so because it's a short story collection, you never really know what to expect, but it says here, Kurniwan's freewheeling imagination explores the turbulent dreams of an ex-prostitute, the hapless life of a perpetual student, victims of an anti-communist genocide, the travails of an elephant, even the vengeful fantasies of a stone. Dark, sexual, scatological, violent and mordantly funny, these fractured fables span city and country, animal and human, myth and politics. Like nothing else, Kurniwan's stories bury themselves in the mind, but his characters and insights are all at once hauntingly familiar, peculiar and twisted. So yeah, I'll give that a go too. So from languishers on my shelves to books that I've recently bought and I'm very keen to read. These were both bought on my recent book buying trip to London with Mercedes, so you may well have seen them feature in here. The first one's Nettleblack by Nat Reeve. This is so sort of small and dense, but the text is so small, so it's going to take a long time to read. This is set in 1893, and we're following Henry Nettleblack, who has to act fast or she'll be married off by her elder sister. But leaving the safety of her wealthy life isn't as simple as she thought. Ambushed, robbed and then saved by a mysterious organisation, part detective agency, part neighbourhood watch, a desperate Henry disguises herself and enlists. Sent out to investigate a string of crimes, she soon realises that she's living in a small rural town with surprisingly big problems. This sounds so great. When the net starts to close around Henry and sinister forces threaten to expose her as the missing Nettleblack sister, the new people in her life seem to offer her a way out and a way forward. Is the world she's lost in also a place she can find herself? Told through journal entries and letters, and I love a book done like that, Nettleblack is a subversive and playful ride through the perils and joys of finding your place in the world, challenging myths about queerness, particularly transness, as a modern phenomenon, while exploring the practicalities of articulating queer perspectives when you're struggling for words. Sounds great, doesn't it? Love this green and pink as well, it's my fave. Sorry about the people streaming outside. And then also on that same trip I also bought The Movement by Aisha Malik, and this is about Sarah Javid. Everywhere she goes, online or outside, everyone is shouting about something. Couldn't they all just shut up? One day she takes her own advice. At first people don't understand her silence and are politely confused at best, but the last thing Sarah could anticipate is becoming the figurehead of a global movement that splits society in two. The silent movement sparks outrage in its opposers, global structures start to shift, and the lives of those closest to Sarah, as well as the strangers inspired by her act, begin to unravel. It's time for the world to reconsider what it means to have a voice. So looking forward to reading that. I've also read Sophia Khan Is Not Obliged and This Green and Pleasant Land by Aisha Malik, and I've just seen that she's got a title of Mansfield Park, so I wonder if she's done a retelling of that. That would be exciting, wouldn't it? And then two last books, because the strimmer, and I'll go over these quickly, are both from the library and are both sort of like collections. So I've got 100 Queer Poems, which is an anthology by Mary Jean Chan and Andrew Macmillan. So it's 100 Queer Poems. I'm not really sure what more I can say. That's so loud, isn't it? And then the last one is We Go High, How 30 Women of Colour Achieved Greatness Against All Odds. This is by Nicole Ellis. I enjoy these books that sort of give you an introduction into people, and in this particular women of colour, who I ordinarily haven't heard about, and then I can go and look into more about them. So I've just turned to 3, so I've got Kamala Harris there, Michaela Cole and Issa Rae. So yeah, looking forward to finding out about more of these people. Nadia Hussain from the Bake Off, lovely. So yeah, so those are the books that I'm planning on reading in the month of November. Let me know what you're planning on reading in the month of November, and I'll see you all again soon for another BookTube video. Goodbye!